Protests both inside and out disrupted that big Biden star-studded fundraiser last night in New York City. It featured those two former presidents, Obama and Clinton. The protests seem to be everywhere the president is in recent weeks, from the State of the Union to last night at Radio City Music Hall. Wow, that's hard.
Shame on you, Joe Biden! Shame on you!
Okay, so despite those protests against the war in Israel and Gaza, and with a widening rift with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, today the Biden administration said it would send billions of dollars worth of bombs and fighter jets to Israel for its fight against Hamas. Meanwhile, the U.S. is saying Israel has agreed to reschedule a canceled delegation trip to Washington to further discuss the ground offensive in southern Gaza and the city of Rafah. So joining me now is Tal Heinrich. She is a spokesperson for the Israeli's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Hi, Tal. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you again, Mike. My pleasure to be joining you tonight.
All righty. First of all, why did the Prime Minister change his mind? Last week, he wasn't sending people to Washington and out of what appeared to be anger over the UN vote. Now, next week, we're going to get a delegation here.
It was a bad timing. It would have sent double the wrong message to Hamas, because it was right after the U.S. decided to abstain on that vote at the United Nations, the one that decoupled the two issues of a ceasefire with the release of hostages. We saw it as an unfortunate departure from a consistent position that the U.S. has held since the beginning of the war on October 7th, that there will be no humanitarian pause in the fighting without a release of hostages. Just to remind you, this resolution was celebrated, was praised by Hamas, by Iran. It was supported by Russia and China, who objected previous resolutions that linked the two issues together. So now it's the right time. We can move forward. We received clarifications from senior officials that doesn't constitute a change of policy. We're glad about that, but
right.
It's not reflected in the text, so to say.
Okay, $14 billion hung up in Congress, aid to Israel at this moment of need. Chuck Schumer on the floor calling for a change in leadership in Israel, obviously very controversial. You've got protesters greeting the president at every turn, no matter where he was, blocking Pennsylvania Avenue on his way to the State of the Union. Are Israeli-U.S. relations at a low point right now?
I wouldn't say that. You know, the overwhelming majority of Israelis support the war objectives. There's no question about it that Hamas has to be eliminated. According to polls that we're seeing, also a solid majority of the American people understand why Hamas must be eliminated. You guys don't like terrorists, and you understand, many of you, that Israel's war is not just Israel's war against Hamas. You know that terrorists all around the world, all bad players, are watching what's happening in our region right now, and they're taking notes. And you will, you know, unfortunately, what begins in our region never stays in our region, and you suffer the consequences of terrorism as well. So we need to get the job done. We need to eliminate Hamas. We need to bring the hostages home. We need to make sure that Gaza will never pose a terror threat to Israel again. And we do see eye to eye with Washington about these issues. Okay.
1,800 2,000-pound bombs, 500 500-pound bombs, all announced, going to Israel, to your government, to your military, to the IDF from the administration. How badly are they needed? And what do you say to concerns from people on the left, like Bernie Sanders, who said this is crazy, absurd, I believe he called it?
What's absurd is giving immunity to jihadi, bloodthirsty Hamas rapists. That's absurd. You know, for far too long, we have lived under a constant threat of terrorism. And it's a decision that Israelis took as a nation. It's not about our government. It's not about the IDF. We took a decision as a nation, Mike, that we will no longer agree to life next to a terrorist enclave. This is why we must get the job done and get rid of Hamas. And what has Hamas brought upon the people of Gaza in their 16 years of rule? You know, misery and bloodshed and violence. We all deserve something better, so the day after Hamas will be something different.
Okay, Tal Heinrich, thank you for joining us. It looks like you're joining us from our New York studios. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.